Back to World Crisis Radio, Tarpley in Washington, D.C. Now, obviously, the idea is somebody's got to challenge Obama, right? Somebody's got to take the plunge. Somebody's got to break the ice, get the thing going. If it's Eugene McCarthy first, and that's not satisfactory, then maybe it'll be Bobby Kennedy later on, or maybe a whole gaggle. Maybe it'll be half a dozen different people. The more the merrier. Let 1,000 flowers bloom. Let 100 schools of thought contend. So that, I think, has to be the orientation. However, we do also propose a program, and we propose it to these people in the House of Representatives who are trying to fight Obama, right? The people who have rejected Obama's tax sellout to the plutocrats, the finance oligarchs, and so forth. They need a program, and that's also the case of resistance forces in Europe. Some ideas, right? Basically 4 points. It corresponds actually to the 5-point program, but this is now posed in the 5-point program, which I display at the top of the Tarpley.net website. This is a little bit more agitational, and it links up with current concerns. The first one is in the program on the website, Save the Social Safety Net. So this is the no cutting, no gutting. You've got to maintain the social safety net. Hands off Social Security, hands off Medicare, hands off Medicaid, full funding of unemployment benefits, including the 99ers. We cannot have people becoming destitute. We cannot destroy families. You can't destroy your mental capital, your human capital. It's the most precious resource you have always. Doesn't matter how much in the way of natural resources you have. Your people are always your number one capital resource, mental capital. That's got to be maintained. Can't destroy families. So no cutting, no gutting, maintain the social safety net, and don't forget the 99ers, the long-term unemployed, because their ranks are destined to swell as this depression goes on. Second point, we've got to shift the cost of the depression onto the speculative financiers and derivatives mongers who have created it. That means tax Wall Street, tax the banks. The obvious expedient, the Tobin tax, a Wall Street sales tax, a financial turnover tax. It's not a tax on you when you go to your ATM and get some money out of the bank. It's when ownership changes. It's a sales tax. It's not some pesky fee. A third point, is stop fraud closures. Don't allow these zombie bankers and hedge fund hyenas to steal people's homes. If you're concerned about private property in any form, open your eyes and see that the main threat comes, if you like, from state government under the influence of these zombie bankers with the robo-signers and the robo-judges in the pay of Wall Street. And then the really big one, which is 2 points in one from the program, we saw last week that helicopter Ben Bernanke of the Federal Reserve had given out $3.3 trillion of largesse to zombie bankers, hedge fund hyenas, and a whole collection of other predatory interests. Well, we want that money. We want that as a national credit. That's going to become national credit for national infrastructure and job creation. The $3.3 trillion that Helicopter Ben put out for these foreign zombie bankers, Barclays Bank, $233 billion, and so on from there. Dresdner Bank, Dexia of Belgium, Société Générale of France, all getting hundreds of billions of dollars of what is in effect U.S. money, although it's off budget. It's not from the Treasury. It's from the Federal Reserve. It's manufactured out of thin air, the way all money is. Get used to it. And you don't like fiat money? Get used to the fact all money is fiat money because it's all determined by law, by the intervention of a government, a state. That's been so since the transition from the old Stone Age to the new Stone Age. But what we want to do with this is the $3.3 trillion go into infrastructure. We know what we need: 100 nuclear reactors of the most modern type, thousands of the most modern hospitals to make up what was lost. We need 100,000 miles of maglev rail. So we're essentially saying rebuild the electrical grid, rebuild the health system in terms of the hard infrastructure, rebuild the transportation system, freight rail, passenger rail, commuter rail, and then move on to things like scientific research and biomedical discoveries to save money on your health plan, and then move on to high-energy physics to find new post-fission forms, including fusion and other methods that may emerge, and explore all of them, obviously. And then, indeed, the question of space colonization and exploration. And 3.3 trillion will take you pretty far in all those directions. So that's the program. No cutting, no gutting, and save the 99ers. Tax Wall Street sales tax, Tobin tax. Stop fraud closures. Don't let zombie bankers come and steal your home. Your home is your castle. Everybody's primary residence is guaranteed against foreclosure for the duration of the crisis by any institution which has ever received TARP or bailout money. That means all of them. Let's get real. And then seize the Fed and use that power to create the credit for a very ambitious program of infrastructure. One interesting discussion is if you follow Ellen Brown, she writes about, I think, goes much too far in saying nice things about Bernanke. I don't share any of that. But there is a way in which even that could be made to work. If you have quantitative easing, if you could force the Fed credit from quantitative easing to be channeled exclusively into revenue bonds of the states, long-term, 50 to 60 to 100-year maturity, 0% revenue bonds of the states and of state consortia like the Port of New York Authority, which is New York and New Jersey. But we build those. You could make the transcontinental maglev, and you could make a whole series of nuclear reactors and hospitals dependent on those revenue bonds. The states could go ahead and build them, provided you channel the entire QE2 away from the hands of the bankers, who are obviously getting it now, and into buying these revenue bonds from the states. You could get a recovery going with, $600 billion to $1 trillion. You could at least get it moving. So that's possible. But if you add that emphatic, imperative, obligatory, and very strict proviso with supervision, with teeth, with verification, that money is going to be used to stoke the speculative fires, and it won't end up in the Treasury. And hyperinflation indeed can result. And if you've had the experience of paying $3 a gallon now for the first time in 2 years, then we know what it is. Now, remember also, the reactionary Republicans, what is their strategy? They want to let the deficit balloon. They're happy with this idea that it's $870 billion in Obama's plan, which is going to be borrowed. That's going to increase the deficit. And once this momentary phase of making nice with Barkey is over and trying to raise money based on that from independents, they will be back to their usual game, which will be to view with alarm the situation of the deficit and then start saying, right, we had to raise taxes, we had to cut taxes for the rich, keep giving them their tax breaks. It's now time to take down Social Security, take down Medicare, take down unemployment benefits, take down Medicaid, take down all of the other programs. This is a genocidal proposal, and the attention of anybody doing this is directed to the Nuremberg precedent of 1945. If you deliberately deny a civilian population of adequate food, care, clothing, shelter, and other necessary conditions of life, you have committed a high crime against humanity. And go and look at the sentences meted out at Nuremberg to imagine what that might mean for somebody like, well, we won't mention any names, but you get the idea. So we also have the option for these reactionaries of refusing to raise the debt limit, meaning that they will force Obama, since Obama is telegraphing now that he intends to capitulate, they're going to attempt to have a default by the United States, which will, they think, prevent public borrowing, violate the Constitution, and shut down the social safety net. So we'll be back here in just a minute on World Crisis Radio.